Alrighty, welcome to the 80th edition of Before the Battle. My name is Nick Baldwin of BloodyElbow.com. You're joined as always by Jed Meshew of the award-winning MMAfighting.com. Unfortunately, Wesley Riddle from MMApsycho.com could not join us this evening on episode 80 to discuss UFC Fight Night 115 in Rotterdam. But Jed, you are here. It is just us. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm good. Didn't Wes miss last time too? I know it's been a very long time since we had a before the battle, but I feel like we were only a two-man team last time as well. Am I correct or incorrect
Yes, you
there?
are. You are.
Oh, well, that's a great shame because Wes by subbing in and telling us his picks and stuff beforehand had a very good event last time, which we'll get to in just a second. But to answer your previous question, I am a wee bit tired, but I am excited to talk about arguably the worst fight card of the year with you, sir. Since we
You
didn't
are
talk about it
excited.
yesterday.
Is that just what you said?
That is. I'm excited to talk about it because we didn't talk about it yesterday, so it's pretty exciting now.
At least we don't have to talk about this shit card twice. That is all I have to say. Let us get to the results from last show. 2 shows ago, I should say. UFC Fight Night 114. Sergio Pettis defeats Brennan Moreno. Seems like this was forever ago, and it kind of was. This happened August 4th, and it is now August 31st. We've gone this long without a UFC. Of course, Mayweather, McGregor in the middle of all that, so that kind of balanced it all out and was its own card in itself or whatever. But we've gone a little bit without UFC. It's back in not so great fashion. We'll talk about it, but we'll get your results from the Pettis Moreno card. Jed, what do you got for us?
Like I said, Wes, it's a shame he's not here because he had himself a good little time. Wes is the co-champion of the picks competition going on between us at the moment with a record of 9-3. Wes missed on Hector Sandoval, Alan Jaban, and Brandon Moreno in the main event. He tied with yours truly. I also went 9-3. I missed on Jaban, Bravo, and Moreno. Nicholas, you had I can't say this with absolute certainty. I didn't check the numbers, but I believe you had the worst evening of any of the three of us since I joined the show.
This was my second worst night of predicting fights ever. The worst was the Bigfoot mirror card in February 2015.
This was a bad effort from you. You went 4-8. I could tell you all 8 that you got wrong, but it seems easier to just name the 4 that you got right. Rinaldi Morales, you started out 2-0, just like me and Wes did. Then the wheels fell off. You only got Hani Yaya, who we all picked, obviously, and Jack Hermanson, who we all picked. You separated a lot of your picks from me and Wes, and it did not pay dividends.
Yes.
It did not pay dividends. So that's how that went down. As far as
let me come in for a second. I went 0-6 in the main card.
Oh yeah, you finished real strong.
Yes.
You finished real strong. But you did a little bit better in DraftKings. Like I said, Wes had a great day a month ago at this point almost. He is our DraftKings winner with a score of 373.5 points. His big acquisitions, Humberto Bandone. He told us, I remember him saying, I've seen some tape on this guy. I like him. I like his chances here. Nobody else was really giving him any chance. And he came in and styled on Bravo to the tune of 102.5 points. Jack Hermanson, who I actually think all three of us might have had on our team, that actually bears out to be true. I'll put up 120 points. And Wes also had Hani Yaya, who got 102.5. Those are the big guys carrying water for him. Impressive that he won because he also had 2 guys who collectively scored 3 points between them. Alan Jaban only accrued 2.5 points for his terrible loss to Nico Price, and Hector Sandoval, even worse, only got 0.5 points total. So impressive stuff from Wes Riddle to spike 3 triple-digit scores to offset 2 guys who barely scored at all. Nicholas, you came in second place with a score of 3. Whoa.
Yes, because I beat you.
Yeah, Yeah, you came in second place with a score of 329 points. You also had Alan Jabon and Hector Sandoval. Actually, did I also have Alan? Oh, that's why Wes didn't suffer that. All three of us had Alan Jabon and Hector Sandoval. All three of us had some guys that did really, really poorly. Uh, but Nick, you had Joseph Morales was your big guy along with Hermanson. Morales brought in 109 points, and I'm bringing up the rear with 291.5 points. My big score was Hani Yaya. We already talked about him. Alexa Grasso. Man, I gotta say, I remember feeling very good about this team, and Alexa Grasso tried her damned hardest to lose this fight when she probably could have just submitted Marcos like instantaneously. If you remember that fight, every time she got her down, it was just a clinic, but she chose not to do it, and that is why I lost to you, in my own personal opinion. So that is the DraftKings. As far as bonuses, I don't even know who won the bonuses, but I have it marked down as none of us got any of them right because we're all really bad at picking bonuses. So that is the what was this? I don't even remember what that fight night was. What was that fight night?
Pettis Moreno,
Yeah, but what was the name of it?
114,
Oh, well,
Mexico City.
let me check just in case to make sure I am correct on the bonus things. Morales, Bandone, Dustin Ortiz, and Nico Price all scored bonuses. None of us had that. All three of us had Moreno as a performance bonus winner. I had Hanayaya. Both you and Wes had Alan Jabon. None of those guys obviously scored. Pettis Moreno was my fight of the night pick. Yours, Wes's was Perez Sukumta, and yours was also Pettis Moreno. None of those scored, obviously, because they just did the 4 performance bonuses instead of a fight of the night bonus, which, I fair play to them, I suppose. But that is our recap from our last endeavor, and now we are ready to go full steam ahead into UFC Fight Night Rotterdam. I know you're excited. I'm excited too because we're just coming off the biggest fight card of the year, maybe of all time, maybe of all the universe, the biggest fight that'll ever happen, and we get to follow it up with 2 tall guys. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, the skyscraper and Drago. Honestly, I admit I'm kind of looking forward to the fight. I think it could be semi-entertaining, but that's a bit of a stretch, and it's maybe just me, a bit of wishful thinking, because I want a decent fight. I want a decent card because it's at the top of, as I said, the weakest card of the year. You have Siyar Bahadurzada in the co-main, Maureen Renault's on the main card, Leon Edwards and Brian Barberina. That's actually a good scrap. But Maribek Taisumov is back. He's on the card on the prelims. That's fun. Koblov Green's one of the better fights on the card, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fighters making their debuts. Half of the card is a fight with a newcomer. This is not a good card. No matter how hardcore of a fan you are, no matter how degenerate you are, no matter if your interests involve MMA and that's it. This is not a good card, and that's something nobody should be able to go against. I think, if you think this is a good card, I hate to say it, but you're wrong. And I hope it ends up being a good card. I hope the fights are fun, but on paper, not good whatsoever. But we got to do what we got to do, and that is to break it down. Won't be in depth. I can probably warn you, that already. We maybe didn't research this card as much as you wanted us to, or we should have, but we just don't care enough. But here goes nothing. Let's try this out and see how it goes. First up, Tybot Goltzy taking on Andrew Holbrook in the lightweight division. Jed, Goatee, or the American Andrew Holbrook?
Man, this is okay. I'm gonna try and be speedy. I know I usually say that and then talk a lot. I'm gonna try and keep this real brass tacks, real bare bones. Andrew Holbrook is on I think he's 1-2 in his last 3 fights. He took a very close split decision over Jake Matthews, who's a pretty okay fighter, and also took a split decision over Ramsey Nijem, who
for what it's worth, the Matthews decision was good. The Nijem decision, on the other hand, was not.
Yeah, that's actually where I was going. I remember the Ramsey Nijem fight. I definitely think he lost that fight. I think the Jake Matthews decision is fine. I do think there is a credible case that Jake Matthews won the fight. That's just one of those coin flip fights. I would never call it a robbery. Either guy could have gotten his hand raised that night, and that would have been, ultimately okay with me. On the other end of that, Thibault Gouti is on a 3-fight skid. Basically, his entire UFC tenure, I think, has been taking L's and taking them getting finished, not even seeing a judge's scorecard.
Yeah.
I think
rounders, 2 subs, 1 knockout. Not a good look.
That isn't a good look. I didn't realize it was even 2 first rounders on top of that. That's not optimal.
You gotta wonder why he is here. They're giving him a 4th shot, and a lot of fighters don't get that 4th shot.
I think the reason he's here is they're basically. This is a pink slip derby fight. If Andrew Holbrook loses, I suspect he will get walking papers as well. If Thibault Gouti loses, the only way he doesn't get walking papers is if he has a picture of Dana fucking a goat or something. He's just going home. And I think it's much more likely that Thibault Gouti goes home. Andrew Holbrook is, look, we're not talking about great fighters either way this goes, but Andrew Holbrook has at least been competitive with better fighters than Thibault Gouti has. Now, granted, I think you can also make the case that Thibault Gouti has just fought a higher class of fighter, and that's why they've beaten him up. I think that's not incorrect exactly. But at the same time, I think very highly of Gregor Gillespie. And Gregor Gillespie showed great boxing when he insta-knocked out Andrew Holbrook. My concerns here would be Holbrook is coming off like a 10-second knockout or whatever. Maybe that affects him in some way, but mostly I just think really the way to take advantage of Andrew Holbrook, we didn't see it in the Gillespie fight, because I remember we talked about it, you and I talked about it, and I'm almost dead certain actually that you picked Andrew Holbrook in that fight, because I distinctly remember looking at you, and I think Wes did too, and saying, you guys are fucking nuts. Andrew Holbrook cannot wrestle, and Gregor Gillespie is a 4-time NCAA All-American. The only reason he is not wrestling on the international circuit right now and competing or in the Olympics and World Championships is because he wrestles in the same weight division as Jordan Burroughs, arguably the best American wrestler ever. Who's still in his prime. So, yeah, I remember us having that conversation. Historically, the way to beat Andrew Holbrook is just to wrestle him down. Now we've seen also you can just jaw him, apparently, too.
Well, we saw that against Joaquim Silva as well.
That is true. But Thibault Gouti is not going to try and take advantage of him, try and take him down. This fight, if it goes to the ground, it'll just be Holbrook, who occasionally will shoot a takedown. Mostly I think this is a striking affair. You could convince me either way it goes, but Gouti has so bad defensively. I think Holbrook has enough in the tank to get pick up enough points in, probably get some type of a late stoppage, but maybe a decision. So Holbrook is my pick. I'm going to go 3rd round TKO.
Yeah, I like Andrew Holbrook here as well. I'm a little surprised that you actually think this will mostly be a stand-up affair. I'm going the other way. I think it'll be mostly a grappling affair and not back and forth, mostly Holbrook on top, either raining down ground and pound or looking for the chokes, most likely the latter. Gouti just probably isn't UFC caliber. We've seen that in 3 fights. He's got stopped in all 3 twice in the first round, 2 by submission, 1 by knockout in his most recent outing. The guy's just, not that great. And I know he's fought tough guys, Olivier Aubin-Mercier and Chad Laprise, and then Timo Packalin. But, it's not, world beaters by any means, and the guy is getting finished. I like Holbrook here by submission. I like him by submission in the 2nd round. I think he'll be able to grind on Gouti for the first and lock something up in the 2nd.
fair play to you. Also, I will throw it out for posterity's sake. Wes Riddle is going to be taking Andrew Holbrook in this fight, so we are unanimous in our decisions here. And now we can move on to the next fight, which would be Bohan Mihailovic versus Abdul Karim Edilov. Is that right?
That is right.
Why don't you
Go
lead
for
us off then, Nick?
I
Since
wanted
there's
to know
only
what
two
you
of
said.
us, I'm going to try and have a little more dynamism in the broadcast.
All right, you're putting me on the hot spot. Let's see what I have here. Abdul Karim Edilov, I know not much about him other than he's a minus 800 favorite, which seems a bit ridiculous considering this is his debut and it's, two lower level guys in a heavyweight class at 205. I've heard decent things about him as far as his actual skills go, but he doesn't seem like the best person. He interacts a lot with the only Ramzan Kadyrov, and I always get confused between what his role in Kadyrov's life and the flyweight. His name is escaping me. He just made Baby Ludov.
Yeah,
One trains their kids and is their babysitter, and one is something else. Do you remember which is which?
Edilov is essentially babysitter / bodyguard to Kadyrov's kids, and Bibulatov is like a member of his Gestapo, essentially.
Well, I hate to see it, but I think Edilov gets the job done here. I've heard good things about him, and Bohan Mihailovic is not a good fighter at all. He got knocked out by Francis Ngannou July 23rd, 2016, over a year ago, first round TKO. No shame in that. Clearly, as time has gone on, Ngannou is one of the best heavyweights on the planet. But then he got stopped by Joaquin Christensen, who himself is not a good fighter. So when you're getting TKO'd by not the best 205er around, you're just not very good. I hate to say it. Abdul Karim Edilov, odds wise, maybe that's accurate. I don't know. Probably should be a bit closer, but the guy should be a big favorite. I'll trust the odds. I think he finishes Mihailovic. It's not that I'm super high on Edilov, at least I'm not yet, but Mihailovic just all around is not a good fighter. Very little defense, all of that. He barely UFC caliber, if UFC caliber. Probably will be given his walking papers with a loss here. The pick here is Edilov by some sort of finish.
For the record, Wes Riddle will be taking Edilov as well. I will not. A couple of things I want to say about this fight. I am taking, I think, might be even the biggest underdog on the card. Am I right in that?
Yes.
I am right in that. I am taking the biggest underdog in the card. I'm going to take him for a couple of reasons. Reason number one, his name is Bohan, which is cool and funny because of the two Bohans that exist in the UFC, both of them are fighting on this card. That amuses me greatly. It feels like one of those old Joe Silva cards where he used to just match make really stupid things because it amused him. So Sean Shelby, I don't like you in a lot of ways, but I assume this is your doing. Good work. Two, I'm taking Bohan Mihailovic because Edilov's a giant piece of shit, and I won't co-sign on him. Like, that's it. Like, yeah, okay, he's a better fighter by most general consensus. He's an enormous favorite, but he is a huge piece of shit. I would urge everyone and anyone to go to bloodyelbow.com. Nick's home. Every once in a while I pop on in there and drop in a thing. But it was yesterday or today or a couple of days ago. Kareem Zidane, the best journalist in mixed martial arts, dropped in a little piece about Abdul Karim Edilov, who is making his debut in the UFC, how he was originally supposed to make his debut like 18 months ago, but he popped hot for steroids. That was like a complicated issue, or whatever the banned substance he was on. He ended up having like a doctor's note that this was medical treatment or some type of weird bullshit. But then it tells you about how like Edilov's a really just enormous piece of shit because he is a close friend and right-hand man of Ramzan Kadyrov, who, all hyperbole aside, is very, very likely one of the 10 worst men on the planet of Earth. And, Abdul Karim Edilov doesn't just work for him or capitulate to him in the ways other people in that area sort of have to as a part and parcel of everyday survival. He is, some fashion of relation to him, I believe, and he is the personal bodyguard and teacher of Kadyrov's children. He was part. He played some fashion of a role in the story you may remember from a year ago, several months ago, maybe not quite a year, about Kadyrov putting on child fights, and Fedor came out and spoke out against it because child fights are fucking despicable. Hold on one second, I have a dog barking and I have to go beat the shit out of.
All right. Well, I will take it from here while Jed takes care of Henry or whatever his dog's name is. Abdul Karim Idolov, I'll just again, I'm picking him. Jed appears to be picking Bohan Milovic. Milovic, I mean, he's just too small for the division, I think, or weight-wise, he couldn't cut down to 185, but he's very thick, but he's very short-limbed. So Edilov, guy's a big favorite, as I said, for good reason. Not a nice person, it seems, but probably going to get the job done here.
He's not going to get the job done because he's on the gas. That was my final point. As I mentioned, he popped out for steroids. Now he's clean. Bohan Mihailovic, do it for the children.
Not for Kadyrov's children, I guess, but for all the others.
For everybody else. Do it for all the good people.
All right. Mike Santiago versus Zabit Magomed Sharapov. It seems like that is just two last names put together, but we'll go with it. Little Bully taking on the Russian newcomer Zabit Magomed Sharapov. Magomed Sharapov is a relatively sizable favorite. Santiago might be a little familiar. He was actually just on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series Week 7, not this past Tuesday, but the week before. Got a first-round finish, was really, really impressive, and should have been directly signed to the UFC on that night. He was not, but here we are. Here he is, I should say, signed to the UFC now, just a week after his fight, and fighting Magomed Sharapov on short notice. The beat Magomed Sharapov was supposed to fight Nick Hine. Nick Hine pulled out with an injury. Jed, the underdog, the American 21-9 Mike Santiago, or Zabit Magomed Sharapov from Russia. He is 12-1.
I mean, I'm not even gonna pretend like I know who Mike Santiago is because he fought a week ago. I won't even sort of pretend that I know anything really about Zabit Magomed. Oh, God damn. Except for he is Russian. He's Dagestani. And when in doubt, I generally pick a Dagestani fighter because I don't know if you've paid attention in the last 4 years. If you're a dude coming out of Dagestan, you make it to the UFC, you could probably fucking fight. So yeah, I'm riding with the Dagestani Knuckle Game Cartel. I feel even more confident in that decision considering Magomed Sharapov is a minus 450-ish favorite. So yeah, give me the Dagestani Knuckle Game Cartel and sign Wes Riddle up for that one as well too.
Yeah, I know absolutely nothing about Zabit Magomed Sharapov other than he's 12-1, so clearly is a decent fighter. I would assume he's not fighting people off the street and fighting other fighters and winning all but one time. The guy seems to be well-rounded. He has 50% by KO, TKO, 33 by sub, 17 by decision. Seems to be able to go the distance. That's all just going by stats, so take it for, with a grain of salt. But on the other end, I mean, Santiago, I know, he has the experience. He just fought, so sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. It's not like he's going to have that tough a weight, or not, he's not going to, he didn't balloon up in 9 days, so it's not like he's dropping down in weight drastically. I don't think. Still could be tough because it's short notice. The fact that it's short notice, he hasn't had much time to prepare, definitely gives me a bit of worry. I got to imagine this Russian guy, Zabit Magomed Sharapov, is a decent fighter. He's 12-1, as I said, and he's a big favorite, minus 450, as Jed said. I'll trust the people that know more about him than I do. I was impressed with Santiago, but clearly it doesn't seem to be enough. Magomed Sharapov, I don't even know how. I'll just say decision because Santiago seems to be pretty tough. Next up, we got the GOAT himself, Francimar Barroso, taking on newcomer. Seems like I'm saying that a lot. Alexander
Rakic.
Rakic.
I believe it's Rakic.
Rakic. All right, we'll go with that. Jed Meshew or the Austrian newcomer?
Dude, this is
Not good.
You're damn right when you say you're saying that a lot. Like, I think we talked about yesterday. I don't know if it was actually on the circus or just shooting the shit. Literally a quarter of the fighters on this fight card and a quarter of the fighters on the main card don't even have profile pictures like for in the UFC database. This is like one of the shining examples of the UFC having too many roster spots and holding too many events. Like, you could just pull a couple of choice fights from this and cut the rest of them. Like, no offense to Alexander Rakic or frankly Franco Marbohos. Like, they don't need to be here. They can go fight in other organizations, and I don't know. It would make me feel better if the UFC really pared down their events to 30 something a year instead of 40 to 50, and just cut a lot of this dead weight. So one, I could remember all the people who are fighting in it instead of having to go look at them because I can't remember shit because you have to keep track of 500, 600 fighters, which is insanity. And two, it would mean something to make it to the UFC as opposed to just like, oh, everyone does that. I'm going to get off my high horse now and make a pick here. I have never seen Alexander Rakic fight. I've seen Franco Barroso fight a goodly amount. He's hung around the UFC kind of for a while now, which is impressive. Good for him. But he has not really beaten anybody worth a shit. And I guess he hasn't really lost anybody bad either. Like, I think highly of Nikita Krylov, so I guess that's okay. But Alexander Rakic is like 12 years younger, a much bigger dude, and seems to be on the way up in his career. And Franco Barroso seems like the perfect guy for him to it's not really a super like defensively inclined or even like a ridiculously offensively potent fighter. So it just seems like a good if Alexander is anything worth his salt, which he seems to have sort of the bare bones makings of, at least something marginally interesting in the barren 205 division, Franco Barroso should be dealt with a quickness. Give me Rakic by KO in the first round.
Yeah, I'm going Rakic here by KO in the first round as well. Barroso, it's interesting with this guy because I watch his fights and I don't see a bad fighter. I just see a fighter who is choosing or can't pull the trigger and can't do much and very little effective offense or defense at that. The guy isn't, there are fighters, I still can't say he's a good fighter because he's still not racking up those points that he needs to win fights and ultimately winning fights for the most part. But like technically, he's not terrible. It's not like he's super sloppy. Yes, he does have one punch at a time, but he technically he's not terrible. Like I don't know if that's completely off, but I just some fighters are clearly not skilled and bad. They try, but they're just not good. Where some fighters seem to be decent and technical, but they just don't do enough, and that's where I feel like the Brazilian here falls into play. Rakic, I know very little about him other than he is a slight favorite. A lot of people are on Rakic here. I have to agree with that. The guy is younger. Barroso is 38 if I'm right there. He's well rounded. He one punch at a time on the feet and a bit of a grinder. He has a bit of a wrestling game, but Rakic seems to be quite the knockout guy. 7 of 8 pro wins have come by TKO or knockout. The guy is much bigger. Barroso doesn't have a very good casting. Everything leads me to believe that the newcomer here can get the job done. I'm going Alexander Rakic, as I said, by first round knockout /TKO. Next up, we got one of the better fights on the card. This is a fight that.
Okay, I guess that's technically true, but goddamn.
It is. When Rustam Kabalov versus Desmond Green is one of the better fights on the card, you know this is not a good card, but ultimately it is. It absolutely is. This is a decent matchup that I could see paths to victory for both guys. It could be boring because Kabalov likes to grind out his opponents and sit on
both
top.
Both of these guys are boring as shit. Is that what you're saying?
Green has had entertaining
boring
fights.
As shit.
Kabalov did all right against Benson Henderson 3 years ago, if that means anything at all. Anyways, Rustam Kabalov taking on Des Green, the Predator. Who are you picking? The Russian, Tiger, or Desmond Green?
I honestly don't know. I think this fight's going to be awful. Just straight up, I think it's going to be impossibly boring. I think neither of these guys are very exciting, even if I think Rustam Kabalov is actually a pretty decent fighter, and Desmond Green could end up being there as well. My tentative choice here is to go with that Dagestani Knuckle Game Cartel, who's also backed by Jackson Wank. That's a pretty potent combo, you know. And I don't even know who Des Green trains with.
Since Des Green is at Combat Club.
Is he a Combat Club guy? I was about to say, was he? Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Rustam, I did not hear he was back at Jackson since when, out of curiosity.
I don't know. I'm going off the top of my head here. Last I remember,
did your best friend Brad Gibson tell you that?
No, just last I remember, Khabilov was trained. Okay. I could be wrong on that. It's literally
all right. I'll trust you.
I could totally be wrong. It's just last time I remember he was training with Jackson's. And they have like everybody trains at Jackson's now. Where was I going with this? Basically, can Rustam Khabilov take Des Green down? If he can't, he likely loses on the feet, not by like some sort of vast superiority, but just that on the feet, Khabilov is almost inert. He doesn't throw. He barely throws punches. And he's not good at it, whereas Des Green is at least a little better at it, and a little more active, and he'll be a little bit bigger, and he's a southpaw. All those things kind of slowly add up to a bit of an advantage on the feet, and Des Green hasn't been taken down the UFC yet, and he's a decent wrestler in his own right, so he likely can. It's really just a question of can Khabilov take him down? Khabilov is relentless with takedowns, and I think eventually he can. So I'm going to take Khabilov. I think this fight actually might be pretty close. You could even be looking at a split decision, honestly. I think Khabilov might struggle to take Des Green down early. Green's not going to hurt him a lot on the feet, but he's going to win the round, and then maybe that second round, Khabilov gets a takedown in the middle of the round, and it's one of those, well, what do you score more things, and then the third, Des Green's just a little gassed, and Khabilov takes him down again. So I'm going to actually take Khabilov by split decision. Also, for posterity's sake, Wes Riddle took Rakic for the last pick, and he is taking Khabilov as well. Nicholas, it's on to you.
Well, I'm going to keep it boring and go Rustam Kabalov here as well. I like him by unanimous decision, though not a split, so mixing it up there, making it a bit entertaining. I don't think it'll be all that close. On paper, it's a close fight because Des Green has a pretty decent shot at being able to keep this on the feet and clearly outpointing the Russian. But I think there's a slightly better chance of Kabalov taking him down somewhat at will. I know Des Green has wrestling background as well. He's not terrible there. He's also decent on the feet. But I just keep seeing Kabalov in my mind taking Des Green down at will and grinding him out until Green is too tired to do much. Des Green, in his last fight before his UFC debut against Josh Emmett earlier this year, he was aghast in that fight. By the end of the fight, I want to say they even had to bring oxygen into the cage. It was really ridiculous and not that good of a showing. So I was actually surprised he got signed. He's a good fighter, but off of that win, it was a little surprising. I like Kopylov here. I like him to be able to take Green down. Not super confident because Des Green did surprise me in his last fight. He's a decent fighter. He's getting better as well. Training at Combat Club seems to be working for him as well. I like the Kopylov, if true, is now back at Jackson Rink. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think we started to see him do not so great when he was training elsewhere. So, look at he's back on a 4-fight winning streak, although not a super impressive one at that. The pick here is Kopylov, but Des Green is a pretty sizable underdog, about plus 250, right in or around there. Yeah, plus 250 is what I see exactly. I wouldn't go, say you're wrong if you take a little stab on Des Green, just because I think this is a closer fight than that, because Green does have a good chance of keeping it on the feet, because his defense isn't bad. He can, as you said, he's never been taken down in the UFC. He has decent wrestling defense. Kopylov's just a pretty damn good wrestler. But if Green does keep it standing, rest of them does very little on the feet. And Des Green in that, area would definitely win. So it's a close fight, but I think when it plays out, it won't be too close. Kopylov by either 30-27 or 29-28 unanimous decision. Next up, we have Michel Prazeres taking on newcomer Mads Burnell. We have Brazil versus Denmark. Who is your pick?
I don't even know who the fuck Mads Burnell is. So I'm going to take Michel Prazeres, who is actually a really good fighter. You look at his record. Who's he lost to? I don't know what he did beforehand. He lost to Kevin Lee, who's about to fight for a title. And who's his second loss?
Probably out of the UFC, I would think.
I'm going to look it up.
Nope, Paulo Thiago, May 18, 2013.
Yeah, that's right on the edge of when Paulo Thiago was a viable welterweight. Also, that had to be early in his UFC career. So, take that for what it's worth. But, Michel Prazeres can fight his ass off. He's got a win over a guy we're going to talk about in just a second. I think maybe even next fight, Mairbek Taisumov, who also can fight his ass off. We're and he's fighting against surely this fight had to be like a short notice, right?
I don't know.
He was supposed to fight Islam Makhachev. Which, Jesus Christ, why is it like every Russian dude is fighting on this fucking card? Like, the Netherlands isn't fucking Grozny. Like, I don't even... Jesus.
This would have been a good card for Russia. I know Kareem this is all this reporting on why a pay-per-view would never happen. Put a shitty fight night in Russia. That makes sense.
Yeah, this is fucking fight night, like...
Russia.
Makchala, whatever, Mahachala. Like, I don't even know what the fuck we're doing here. Michel Prazeres was supposed to fight a much better guy, and now he's fighting a much worse guy on short notice. He's not really like a super potent offensive force, realistically. Old Prezi isn't. Trator is not. But and I don't know enough about Mads Burnell to say confidently how this will end. I just think it's pretty easy to Prazeres win. I guess I'll say decision because I don't know if he's finished anybody in the UFC.
Josh Berkman. That was his most impressive performance by far in his last fight.
Yeah, but Berkman's like the most washed man that's ever been washed. So I'm going to take very little from choking out a washed Berkman. So, give me Prazeres by decision, I suppose. And similarly, Wesley Riddle will also take that decision.
The Josh Berkman win was really, really impressive. Berkman is washed, but he's still kind of tough. Not really. He just got knocked out by Drew Dober, and is 1-6 in his last 1-7 in his last state. That is not good at all. That fight makes me believe that Prazeres is getting better and better and better and might be able to finish fights now. But then I think about it and look who he fought, and it makes sense. And it doesn't really make sense to pick Prazeres by finish over much, really anybody else. I guess Prazeres will return to his decision roots against this 8-1 Denmark fighter in Mads Burnell. I know nothing about Mads Burnell at all. Prazeres seems to be getting better as he ages, and that's always interesting. That's always cool, of course. He's a big favorite. Matt Burnell stepping up on short notice, never a good thing. For the most part, anyways. The pick here is Michel Prazeres by pretty dominant decision. I faded Prazeres a couple times, and it has never paid off. It's never worked. So I'm all in on Prazeres for this one, and I think he's actually a decent fighter now. So Prazeres by decision. Next up, we got one of the most, one of the more exciting lightweights, and if he fought more often, I think he would be in the rankings. I think he'd be borderline, contender at lightweight, as stacked as the division is. This guy's really, really good now. Mairbek Taisimov taking on Felipe Silva. Silva is 8-0. He's undefeated. He, I believe, is coming off a win over Shane Campbell. That seems to be accurate. Yes, he is. First round TKO over Canadian Shane Campbell. Your pick here, Felipe Silva, or the pretty sizable favorite here, Mairbek Taisimov.
Oh God, this is just gonna be boring. I'm tempted to take Silva, despite the fact that I know almost nothing about him. Just because, like, why not? Fuck it, I will do it. Realistically, Mairbek Taisimov is probably gonna win. He's like actually a pretty solid fighter. We know almost nothing about Felipe Silva other than that he can knock out Shane Campbell, which isn't like the most difficult thing in the world to do. So, but that's really like the extent of our knowledge about him. Other than that, I ain't got really shit to say on this. I'm taking Silva just because he is pretty sizable, like physical advantages here. He's bigger, taller, stronger. Tyson is probably just going to take him down a whole shitload, and that'll be fine. Like, okay, I'll lose that pick, but if I don't, then you're just going to pick Taisimov, and we're just going to be picking all the same shit. So for the sake of funsies, give me Felipe Silva by first round KO. He'll do it again, run it back. He's going to hit a jump knee on Taisimov as he's shooting in. Felipe Silva with the KO. Book it.
My pick here is the pick that everybody should be making. It's Mairbek Taisimov. Felipe Silva appears to be a stand-up fighter. Just looking back at his win over Shane Campbell last year, it was very impressive. Might have even been a bit of an upset there. I know I picked Campbell. I think a lot of people probably maybe did. I don't know. So I think Silva can bang. I think Mairbek Taisimov can bang quite a bit better as far as the skill goes, as far as his technique goes. Taisimov is incredibly sharp on the feet. He's very dangerous. Not saying Silva isn't, but Taisimov is just more dangerous, I think. The guy hits really, really hard. 4 knockout/TKOs in a row, 2 in the second round, 2 in the first round, coming off wins over Damir Hadzovic, Alan Patrick, Anthony Christodoulou, and Marcin Bandel. My only concern with Taisimov is that he's coming off a quite long layoff. His last fight was April 2016, so it's been well over a year. The guy is pretty used to longer layoffs. He's had a bunch of visa issues before that. He had fought in June 2015. So the guy is very inactive and has been, he's been signed to the UFC for a number of years, and he's only 4-1, I believe it is. 4-1 or 5-1. 4-1. No, 5-1. I'm going Mairbek Taisimov. I don't know tons about Silva other than he can knock out Shane Campbell, as you said. Taisimov is really, really legit. I like Taisimov by knockout round 1 or 2. Next up, we got the featured Fight Pass prelim, Darren Till and Bohan Vlishkovic. I'm trying to make this sound better than it is.
Featured fucking Fight Pass prelim.
Who you got?
Good. God, I can't even believe this is the fucking featured Fight Pass prelim. That's insane. I am, and I don't know why. I can't explain it to you. I genuinely can't. There's no good reason. There's no rhyme to it. It's just fucking dumb. It's dumb of me to feel this way. But I am a ride or die dude for Velikovich, like Velichkovich, how the fuck you say it. I think I've picked him in like all of his UFC fights. I don't know why. It just keeps happening. Maybe it keeps happening because he keeps fighting guys that I think suck. And like I just don't think Darren Till was a good fighter. So like I'm gonna do it again. And I think he's the underdog here and kind of even a
No.
sizable
Oh,
one.
yes, yes, he is. Yes.
Yeah, I think he's gotta be the underdog. But
Yeah.
like Velichkovich is an enormous welterweight. I think he's improving time in and time out. Not rapidly. He's not a prospect. He's likely not ever going to be a top 10 guy. But I think he's got skills sort of everywhere. And I just don't like, he's probably not as good a striker as Darren Till is, but Darren Till is not very active on the feet. I think Velikovich throws a little more on the feet. Darren Till is pretty bad defensively in general. Like he gets hit a lot more. I think Velikovich going to be a bigger guy in there. He's going to be a little more active, and I don't really think either guy's going to have success shooting takedowns or initiating a grappling game. So it's going to be a fucking close, shitty fight. And I can't believe this is your featured Fight Pass prelim.
Well, I
But
guess it's not really a featured Fight Pass prelim because the whole goddamn card is Fight Pass, but featured
no, but
prelim, we'll go with
still
that.
still the featured thing because don't you know?
Yeah.
Remember on Fight Pass they make you switch streams because they're stupid like that. So yeah, give me Bohan Velichkovich by decision.
I'm going Darren Till. In such a terrible card, it's almost you have to side with the favorites, most of them or all of them. Velichkovich, I've never been super high on him. His last win over Nico Masoki was kind of impressive. I believe it was a come from behind win. I think Masoki was probably winning up until he wasn't. Till, I've expected more than we've gotten from him, but I still think he could turn into something more than a bad fighter. The guy should have knocked out Justin Ayari in his last fight. He did not. That sort of puts a bad taste in my mouth. Serbian Steels, though, his UFC career has been very strange. It includes a come from behind win, a draw, a couple losses, I believe, and like a kind of weird first debut victory that maybe shouldn't have been a victory. Yeah, it's hard to know what to
Nah, he
make of him.
definitely beat that Italian dude whose name escapes me.
Alessio De Chirico. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
sure.
I'd have to go back and watch. I think I actually scored it for De Chirico, but I don't really care. I think this could look a lot like Darren Till's win over or draw over Nicholas Dalby because Velichkovich, I think, is slightly better on the mat. I think he could take down Till. Till's not very good defensively on the mat or in the wrestling department. But Till, I think, is quite a bit better on the feet. He's not super active. I think he could be a lot more active and could be good if he was more active. He hits quite hard. He has a bit of a funky style. I think that could confuse Velichkovich a little bit, especially early on. I like Till to keep this fight mostly standing, and therefore I'll point him by decision with strikes. But Velichkovich could sneak in a couple takedowns and hold him down. So I'll say Velichkovich takes home one round, and until the two others. For a decision win for Darren Till. Next up, we have what might be the best fight on the card. Leon Edwards, Rocky, taking on Brian Bam Bam Barberina. Jamaica versus the United States of America. Jed, who is your pick?
First things first, Wes Riddle, I don't think I said his last two, took Tysonov and Darren Till. Wes is picking favorites down the board. So there's that. I am going to pick a favorite in this one as well. I think this is your second best fight of the evening, which is just fucking depressing. Yeah, Leon Edwards, like Brian Barberina has really only lost two very good fighters, and he's not like a great fighter. But he's a gritty guy. He hangs in there. He's got skills in all phases. He's he's got heart. He's got tenacity. You can't deter him from wanting to stay in the fight and fight. He is a fighter really deep down inside. He's also not super athletic and he's not good. Like he is just competent. Leon Edwards is actually good. Like he's good at fighting. Not just he is built for it. So yeah, in those type of fashions, you pick the guy who has a potent offensive game and a depth of skill that Brian Barberena does not possess. Leon Edwards is going to take this. I think he's just going to piece Brian Barberena up on the feet. Barberena is tough, gritty. I think he can make it closer than it seems just by literally by the virtue of being the fighter he is, like coming forward, applying pressure, pace, and volume, and trying to steal rounds. But he's never going to win the engagements that way. He might, if you squint your eyes and look at it and tilt your head, you might think like, oh, Brian Barberena could maybe steal this from the judges. But Leon Edwards has a much higher level of class here. And it's, Barberena will land offense. It won't be nearly as potent as what he receives in turn for trying to make the fight kind of gritty and grimy. This is Edwards is a legit prospect. Barberena is a perfect guy to kind of test him out against. That's sort of Brian Barberena fills that role nicely. I'm not going to call him a gatekeeper, but a whetstone. Like he's going to be there. He's going to make Leon Edwards better for fighting him, and then Leon Edwards can go forward and maybe make a run, do some bigger things here, and Brian Barberena can fight Mickey Gall or some shit. I don't know. But yeah, so give me Leon Edwards by decision because Brian Barberena is tough as shit.
Yeah, I'm going Leon Edwards here as well. He's just technically much better, and just skill-wise, all around, he's a better athlete, slightly better striker. He has more of a ground game than Barberena. But
can I clear something up with you real quick? So are you just going to pick all favorites too? Are you and Wes just going to be lockstepping on the favorite train here, and I'm the only one with a set of balls on him? Is that what's happening?
That seems to be right.
Okay. I didn't realize that was the case, but okay. All right, continue. Please continue.
You're
no
making...
balls.
I mean, I was going to say, I might just go Barberena to make you happy.
No balls.
This is a tough one. This is a tough one. I have to say. Fuck it. Let's go Brian Barberena. Brian Barberena is my pick.
Yeah, there you go.
Leon Edwards is a good fighter. He's a very good fighter. He doesn't have many holes at all. And
Wes is gonna fucking win again. God damn it.
Nah, Bam Bam's gonna pull this off for me. I'm decent at picking Brian Barberena fights.
Bam Bam has a better chance of pulling it off than Mihailovic does, at least. So there's that.
Yes, he does. All right. So just to make this interesting, I'll go Brian Barberena because I think he has a very reasonable chance to win. He is scrappy. He has toughness for days. The guy is tough as nails. The guy, I mean, you can't say it. I can keep going on about how freaking tough and gritty he is, and that makes him a good fighter. It does. He's not technically superior to Leon Edwards, but he hangs in there and will hang in there when Leon Edwards does not. Edwards tends to fade. He isn't a world beater. In the third round. He does well early. He does well mid-fight. And then if it gets there, he starts to slow down. We saw his ground game against Albert Tumnov. That was really impressive. Although Tumnov clearly has a bit of an issue on the ground. Edwards could outbox Barberena. He could outgrapple Barberena. I think Edwards' best chance to victory here is actually by taking Barberena down. We saw Barberena can be taken down against Colby Covington. Covington's a much better wrestler than Leon Edwards is, but I still think Edwards has a good enough ground game to be able to take Bam Bam down. But this is where Brian Barberena wins. He will lose probably the first round when Edwards is very fresh and doing really well. And then he'll start to take over as time goes on. He'll start to outpoint Edwards on the feet. Look back on the Bam Bam versus Warlley Alves fight. I know you can't compare Alves and Leon Edwards, completely, but Brian Barberena does very well against a lot of prospects that should beat him. Warlley Alves, I thought, would just destroy Brian Barberena. As a guy who who picks Barberina more often than a lot of people, that surprised me. Barberina's not going to have a size disadvantage here. Physically, Edwards is stronger, but size, it's dead even. Height and reach. No, reach 2 inches to Edwards, but 2 inches isn't a whole lot. Barberina's a pick. I think he outpoints Edwards on the feet a little bit. I think it'll be close. Could be a split decision, but Brian Barberina is getting better. That's the thing. That he trains at the MMA lab. He's getting better. He's still not great, or maybe not even good, but he is getting better. Not to say Edwards isn't, but Barberina. Let's go on and make this interesting as Jed. Honestly, I just wanted Jed to shut up about the no balls thing. Brian Barberina is the pick. Decision. Boom.
Dope. Now we have the
you talked about that. Yes, I'm so used to break. Oh no, I always go last. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways,
we're co-main event time.
Yes, co-main event. I can't believe this.
No, we're not. We're Marion Renault, not co-main event.
Oh God, we just wanted to speed this up as much as possible.
Here, I'll speed it up very quickly. Marion Renault taking on Talita de Oliveira. Wes Riddle also took Leon Edwards. I told you he's taking favorites down the board. He's going to take Marion Renault. Guess who else? I'm also going to take Marion Renault. Would you like to know my reasoning? Here's my reasoning, Nicholas. I don't know who the fuck Talita de Oliveira is. I know who Marion Renault is. That is literally the entire breakdown I have for this fight. Marion Renault isn't great. I don't know who this woman is that is facing her, but she doesn't have a perfect record on the regional scene. She's only had 5 fights. Give me Marion Renault. Let's see what happens.
But she is a replacement for a UFC champion.
That's true.
That is huge.
The featherweight champion of the world. That's right. Marion Renault was preparing for a title fight, and instead she's fighting a 4-1 fighter making her debut in the UFC. Marion Renault is going to win a probably really boring decision.
Yeah, well, let's go Marion Renault by piecing this girl up on the feet because Bernardo apparently is a submission artist, but I don't know if she's good or bad. I definitely am going with Marion Renault, as most people should and probably will. Next up, hopefully this one is as quick as last. Siyar Bahadurzada in the co-main event against newcomer Rob Wilkinson. It seems I've said that now 6 times, and that was thankfully the last time I'll say newcomer. Was this another short notice fight for the newcomer? I feel like Bahadurzada was supposed to fight someone else. Do you recall?
You are correct. He was supposed to fight Abu Azaitar.
Who?
Abu Azaitar?
Who the hell is that?
Dude, you haven't heard of Cologne, Germany's Fighting Pride, Abu Azaitar?
Was that also a newcomer?
Well, yeah, he fought a couple of times in like WSOF. But yeah, he's definitely not very good.
Has he ever fought in UFC?
I don't think so. I'm pretty confident.
That's why
I'm almost 100% certain he hasn't.
Right.
Yeah, my breakdown, Wes Riddle is going to take Bahadurzada, the slight favorite for this. I am actually going to take Rob Wilkinson. A couple of reasons. One, Rob Wilkinson is just honestly absolutely enormous. For 170, I don't reasonably know how he can consistently keep making the weight. Seems like he is absolutely destined to be a middleweight to me, but I guess we'll find out going forward. But he's a young guy. He actually has a pretty decent set of skills on him as far as grappling game goes, which, Siyar Bahadurzada is a solid grappler. We've seen that. But aside from just his like physical advantages, his sheer physicality, I'm picking him because Siyar Bahadurzada has had a tumultuous UFC career, to say the least. He went 3 years without fighting, or almost 3 years without fighting. He skipped like 2014 and 2015 or something. And I don't remember why. Maybe he was injured. Was he in jail? Is that right?
Who? I don't know.
I don't remember. He's had a ton of fights canceled in the UFC. He has been injured a ton. He seems like he is a injury-prone dude, and he's getting up there in age. He's not old. He's 33. But I think it's probably fair to say that his best days are behind him. Rob Wilkinson is younger, bigger, faster, stronger, a competent, solid grappler. And mainly this is more of a fade of Baharazad than it is a pick of Rob Wilkinson. But I do think give me the young guy on the come up versus the other guy who has trouble even making it to the cage.
I don't know. I know that. I know Ciara Bahadurzada. I don't know Rob Wilkinson. The pick is Ciara Bahadurzada, the great, who will pull it off yet again. Although he is coming off a layoff, if I recall correctly. He has not fought since his win over Brandon Thatch in March 2015. That night.
That can't be 2015. That had to be 2016.
2016. That night, Diaz defeated McGregor, and since then, Conor McGregor has gone on to be the biggest star in the world ever in history, in human history. That is incredible. But yeah, all right, enough with that. Ciara's the pick,
dude. That's what I'm saying, dude.
Ciara is the pick. I don't care how. Let's go decision, because I guess according to you, Wilkinson seems to be all right, and he's undefeated, well-rounded, young. Sure, Ciara by decision. Main event time. Let's get through this somewhat quick, maybe not as quick as our Renault prediction. Alexander Volkov, Drago taking on Stefan, the skyscraper, Struve, as a guy who can barely pronounce his S's. That is a world of trouble to say. Stefan, the skyscraper, Struve. Who are you picking in this clash of giants?
Well, honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to talk myself into it and see where we get there in the end. But I'm super tempted to take Stefan Struve here. Because Stefan Struve, on the one hand, I'm not tempted to take him because Stefan Struve is he's gonna die in the cage. He has that heart problem, and every time he fights or comes close to fighting, I get concerned about the fact that medical commissions are clearing him to step in the cage. But medical professionals are letting him do it. I guess theoretically he's probably okay. Stefan Struve concerns me in general, but he's actually a pretty decent fighter. That's the thing about old Struve. He has a win over Stipe Miocic. He's the only guy Stipe has lost to that Stipe didn't then go to avenge that loss. He knocked out the current heavyweight champion. And his losses have mostly come to by virtue of one thing. He doesn't take a punch all that well, which is weird because he sort of does. He actually, when he gets hit, he usually doesn't die immediately, but he's very, very hittable, I think is sort of what I'm trying to get at. He doesn't have a bad chin per se, but anybody hitting you at heavyweight, unless you have a Mark Hunt style chin, then it's not conducive to a successful fight for you if you are hittable, and he is very hittable. And Alexander Volkov, but that's the thing about Volkov, he's not a huge puncher really. He knocked out Attila Vey, who is Attila Vey. But Tim Johnson, who I know you just did an interview with recently.
That'll be up tomorrow.
Tim Johnson and Roy Nelson both went the full 15. I know Roy Nelson has a legendary chin, but Roy Nelson was never really in serious trouble. That was just sort of a cardio kickboxing routine of I'm a better striker than you. And I think in the end that's why I'll pick Alexander Volkov. I think he's a better striker than Stefan Struve. I think Stefan Struve gets hit too much, and Volkov is a cleaner, crisper technician. Because Struve is so hittable, it's possible that he eventually does get dropped, knocked down. But so the X factor here is if Struve can hang tough for a while and then maybe find a way to get it to the floor. Always an underrated grappler. Just sort of an underrated offensive threat in general, but Alexander Volkov seems to have a really excellent chin on him. So I think the only real way that Struve is going to be able to get something done here is he's going to have to get this to the floor. and I don't think he can do that with regularity or success. So give me Volkov to get a late stoppage. I don't think he's going to get an early one, but I think after chewing Struve up on the feet for a long enough time, eventually the punches pile up. He accrues enough damage to stop Skyscraper in, let's say, the 4th round. Let's say it's a championship round stoppage.
My pick
also,
here,
Wes Riddle's taking Volkov.
Well, you said the favorites, and so we
I
knew
know,
that.
but I'm just letting everybody know that the favorite in this fight is Volkov. Wes Riddle's taking him. Bring us home, Nicholas.
Here we go. One last prediction. Thank you guys for hanging here. All 2 of you. That is outstanding for you. For 2 people to be listening to us break down this terrible, terrible card. That is fantastic. Thank you guys. We appreciate it. Alexander Volkov is the pick. I like him by decision. A heavyweight fight, 5 rounds, going to the judges. That's something we don't see all that often, but these are 2 guys that, for heavyweights, don't hit all that hard. Volkov is coming off back-to-back decisions, and granted that's against 2 incredibly tough guys in Tim Johnson and Roy Nelson. Stefan Struve is coming off, what's he coming off? He knocked out Bigfoot, submitted Daniel Malinchuk. Yeah, so those were his last 2 fights, and then he, before that, got grounded out by the Rochelle himself, Mr. Jared, and decisioned Big Nog before that. A couple losses to Overeem and Hunt before that, the layoff, all that. Struve's started to put it together. He started to use his reach a lot better. That's good. That's not going to be enough. He's slightly bigger, well, considerably bigger against Volkov, who himself is a very, very tall man. But that's not going to matter too much, or enough, I should say. He should be able to land some shots on Volkov, but Volkov's the better striker quite a bit. Struve's never been known as, again, a knockout artist or a great technical striker on the feet by any means. Volkov just needs to keep the standing, and the fight is his. If Struve can get it to the ground and do what Czech Congo did to Volkov 2 years ago, he could win. He's a better submission guy. He's better at takedowns slightly. Volkov doesn't have much of a ground game at all. But that's going to be difficult. Volkov has good enough defense, and I think he's gotten better since that Czech Congo fight. And Czech Congo is a much better grinder and wrestler than Stefan Struve. So I think this will be a stand-up affair, 100%. I don't see Struve getting on top of Volkov. I think Volkov stands with Struve. I think they stand for 25 minutes straight. I think Volkov gets the better of the exchanges for almost all 25 minutes. Volkov by unanimous decision, pretty clear. Struve will have his moments. It'll be a close enough fight. It's not going to be a domination, and it's not going to be super, super fun. I think it going 5 rounds, I think it being on the feet and big fighters, physically, I think, it'll that by itself will make it sort of fun. I don't think it'll be the worst fight we've seen. I don't think it'll be a fight of the year candidate. I think it'll be kind of fun. Volkov by decision. There we go. That is it. There we go for UFC Fight Night 115 Rotterdam. Tune in because it's going to be fantastic. All right, 2 more things, and then we are out of here. What do we have? Performance and Fight of the Night bonuses. Jed, you can go first. Who do you hand out your bonuses? I know this is tough because not a lot of people stand out here.
No, it's easy for me. By the way, Wes Riddle did not submit a DraftKings team or bonuses, so I don't have those for you. But what I do have, my Fight of the Night prediction, I'm doing the same thing I always do. Volkov, Struve. I picked the main events because 5 rounds is more than 3 rounds, and so that gives it 10 more minutes to be a substantive fight that people give more of a shit about, to be a better fight just in general. And yeah, that's, unless there is unless you've got like an Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje on the undercard or some shit, like I'm just going to pick the main event for Fight of the Night mostly every time and see if it works for me. So that's my Fight of the Night. My 2 performances, Rakic, who we both picked for early KO. I'm giving him that one. My other one, Silva, because I believe Silva's going to upset Tysonov with that early KO, just like he did to Shane Campbell. So get him a little 50K extra scratch on that one as well. What about you, Nicholas?
I plan on doing Fight Night Volkov Struve, but I think now that I think about it a bit more, I think Edwards Barberena, whether or not my prediction is right.
That's the second best choice, clearly.
Yeah. So that is my pick. I just think Volkov Struve can be entertaining. I'm not confident it will be enough to warrant a Fight Night bonus. 50 grand from the UFC. So Edwards Barberena, I think it'll be scrappy. I think, Barberena can bring the fight to Edwards and, either beat him or come close. So that is my pick for Fight Night. My performances will be including that fight between Tysimov and Silva. But if you guys recall, if you were here earlier, I did pick Tysimov, the favorite. So that is who I'm going for my performance of the night bonus. My first one is Marbach Tysimov. My other is, I hate to be a bit boring, but it is Alexander Rakic. You could go Andrew Holbrook or Edilov. Those are both two decent choices. I think both get finishes. But Rakic, I think it'll just be slightly more impressive. It'll be a knockout for sure. And it is on the a bit later on than the other two fights, which are the first and second. So Rakic and Tysimov. I think Prazeres is also another good pick, but Tysimov and Rakic, and then Edwards and Barberena. DraftKings. So let's hear, Jed. Who do you got?
Okay, so my DraftKings team. When I was originally making this, I was like, "Holy shit, this is really hard to make because so many huge favorites that like." You basically are kind of priced into taking, a favorite that maybe you don't really want to have on your squad or an underdog that you don't believe in just because, like, you have to have somebody to make the math work out for you. But I have come to a team that I actually am surprisingly comfortable. Like, I'm feeling pretty decent about it. Feeling pretty decent. My team, as it currently sits, Alexander Volkov. I'm picking him to beat Stefan Struve at the very least 5-round main event. Going to pile up the points. Bohan Velikovic. I told you he's my boy. He's upsetting Darren Till. It's what he's going to do.
Oh no. Oh, Bohan Vlhkovic. I thought you were talking about Bohan
Mihailovic. No, I'm talking about Velichkovic, Serbian steel, baby. Upset that Darren Till. He is also dirt cheap, 7,300, so he offsets the fact that I got a couple of expensive fellas coming on down the pipeline. One of those, Michel Prazeres, we already talked about it. I don't know who the fuck Mads Burnell is, but he's about to get dusted up and taken down like 800 times. That's going to be all the points for Prazeres. Similarly, we both picked Alexander Rakic to get a performance bonus because we're both picking him for an early KO. So I'm definitely putting him on my squad. $8,500 is well worth the cost of admission. Des Green, my other real big underdog pick here. We talked about how Des Green Khabilov is going to be a close fight. I'm picking a split decision for Khabilov, but because it's so close, I think maybe Des Green can land some more offense on the feet. Des Green can snake away a win and get enough points to make him worth my while at $7,100. Rounding out the squad. Hurts my soul a little bit. Not gonna lie. It hurts my soul.
It is Edilov.
It's not Edilov. It's not. I considered it, but I steadfastly refuse to do such a thing. So instead of that, I can also consider Marion Renault. And honestly, I'm still, maybe by fight night I might swap this out just so I can feel better about it because Marion Renault is going to win. But the thing is, even if Renault wins, I don't think she's going to win and put up points because that's not really her MO. Like, she is not a big point scorer. If you look at her record or whatever, the most points she scored was when she subbed Andrade. But other than that, she's in the 70-point ranges when she gets a win.
It's Andrew Holbrook.
No, it's not Andrew Holbrook.
Yeah.
Actually, how much does Andrew Holbrook cost? Maybe I might dump. Ooh. Well, who it is Marbach Tysimov, who I've told you is going to get knocked out by Felipe Silva, but I don't believe that in my heart. Mainly, I was picking that because I was afraid that we were going to have a lot of unanimity across the board here. And then it turned out that I actually picked a couple of underdogs just for funsies, like Wilkinson. I actually legitimately picked Velikovic. I picked because I'm not a piece of shit like you. I picked.
I got Bam Bam. I don't know what you're talking about. Wes is
Mihailovic as well. So in fact, because of that, I'm gonna scroll back and take Marbach Tysimov. So I'm gonna change my pick to Tysimov. And also as a result, I'm probably gonna pull Silva off my performance bonus. And since we're gonna, you know what? If we're gonna pull Silva off my performance bonus, time to double down, put my money where my mouth is. I've
And
been
go
back in Serbian
Bohan.
steel the whole
Oh,
time.
damn it.
So Bohan Velikovic. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Bohan Mihailovic. Because fuck you, Kadyrov. Bohan Mihailovic will be my other guy. I'll be honest with you. Mihailovic was on my DraftKings team for a minute because he's like $6,000 flat. But in the end, I swapped him out because after I built my team, I had so much extra money. I was like, Des Green probably has an actual better chance of getting the upset. So I swapped him in there. But yeah, so Mihailovic is going to be a performance of the night bonus for me. My squad: Des Green, Michel Prazeres, Alexander Rakic, Merbek Taisimov, Bohan Velichkovic, Alexander Volkov. If you're counting, I have 2 Alexanders, 2 Bohans, 1 Desmond, and 1 Merbek. What about you, Nicholas Demimsey Porpington?
Hold on. Say that one more time because okay, go through your team one more time.
Des Green, Michel Prazeres, Alexander Rakic, Alexander Volkov, Merbek Taisimov, and Bohan Velichkovic. Well, I don't have 2. I don't have 2 because I pulled off.
That's what confused me. I heard it right, and then you said you have 2 Bohans, and I was like, huh?
I've got Volkov, Velichkovic, Taisimov, Rakic, Prazeres, Green. What about you, Sir Nicholas?
We have 5 of the same fighters.
Jesus.
Now it's time for your turn to guess. It is your turn to guess who is different and who have I replaced your fighter with.
All right, so you definitely have Rakic on the squad. 100% you've got Rakic on your squad. I'm not even going to wait for you to affirm that. I know that that's true. The one you don't have is Bohan Velikovic.
Yes, you are right.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm just a Velikovic stan, and that's it. So I knew that.
So I have.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
Hold on, yeah, one sec. So I have Des Green, Michel Prazeres, Alexander Rakic, Merbek Taisimov, and Alexander Volkov, and blank. Who replaces Bohan Velichkovic?
Okay, so who replaces Velichkovic? Huh? All right. Let's take a look here. Baharazad is too expensive. So that's not it. So you're not going to pick Talita Bernardo. None of us know who that is. Oh, ooh. So I'm going to table this. I think I found it, but I'm going to scroll down. Just want to make one last quick peek because it's not going to be Thibaut Gauthier. So it is definitely Brian Barberena.
Bam, bam himself. There you go. So,
well, it's good to know that basically this comes down to whether Barberena or outscores Velikovic between the 2 of us.
And honestly, even if I was picking Leon Edwards, I think Barberena does more and has more points than Velichkovic. So
yeah, Barberena can definitely put up points even in a loss. If he doesn't, though, the thing is, so. All right, he put up 52 points against Chad Laprise. That's probably what you're looking at for his point total. Honestly, I sort of like your team better than mine, is basically what I'm saying here. Because when he loses to Edwards, he's still probably going to put that up.
And for what it's worth,
if Velikovic has to win. Yeah, but if Velikovic loses and Barberena loses, I definitely lose. If Velikovic wins and Barberena loses, I probably win. If both of them win, I probably lose. So I'm shooting a narrow gap here, but Serbian Steel is gonna edge one out over Darren Till because that is the damn way of it. I wish Wesley Riddle had a team for us. Maybe he'll have one in by fight time, and that'll be fun for us to talk about independently. But my friend, that is it. We're done.
Episode 80 of Before the Battle in the books. I hope you guys survived. We had 2 a bit ago. We still have 2. Thank you guys for hanging out. We do appreciate it. On it's Thursday evening, Thursday night. You could be watching Invicta. I think the main event either just happened or it is now over. It seems to be still happening. So go tune in once we are out of here to that. It is what's that?
We're in the main event.
Yes, we are. So that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Jed, let everybody know where they can find you on social media, where they can find your writing, and any other MMA stuff you got to plug.
If you're watching this, you already know, but follow me on Twitter at Jed Meshew. My writing's at MMAfighting.com. That's it, boys. Thanks.
You guys can find me on the Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. You can find my other podcast. It is called The MMA Circus. I host it with Andrew Lawrence, but more often than not, I don't, and usually host it with this man himself, Jed Meshew. On episode 126, we had 2 guests and a guest co-host. His name was Jed Meshew, believe it or not. Our 2 guests were Cajun Johnson. My second interview with Cajun Johnson in the past 9 days, turning into a weekly thing, it seems. We also had Jeremy Lopez, the host of Lopez Radio. I went on his podcast last month. He was on mine now. Great chat about podcasting, the podcast industry, how he got into MMA, the latest in MMA, everything you can dream of if you're a podcaster or a podcast about MMA. That's definitely a conversation for you. And Cajun Johnson talking about his layoff, TriStar Vancouver, the fight, all of that at fight at 215, I should say. 2 great conversations, and then Jed and I talk all things May, Mac, and get that out of the way. Go tune in. That is it. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it, and enjoy the fights on Saturday morning. Bye.
Love you guys.